Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations of the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Lowe's Def, and I'm back here for episode 161. And yeah, man, if you're new to the channel, I'd like you to hit that subscribe button for me. Help build the channel, help the algorithms and all that. Hit the like button. If you're interested in some of the content, leave a comment. You want to join the conversation, or if you know anybody else that might be into what we're talking about, share the platform and share the episode with them. All right, man, we back. And first I want to say, let's see. So by the end of this weekend, it'll be Labor Day, right? So that's the unofficial end of summer. Now we know that not spring, fall, the autumn, right? Fall, it doesn't actually start until like September 21st, right? So we technically are still in summer even after this weekend, but Labor Day is the unofficial end of summer because the unofficial start of summer is Memorial Day, right? So Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I guess my question to y'all is, what was the highlight of your summer? Like what was the best part of this past summer for you? I think for me, my highlight would have been getting a new car, and I love my car, man. I love my car. I don't necessarily like the circumstances in which I had to get the car. Having a car payment now, after not having one, I only didn't have a car payment for 1 year, you know what I'm saying? And this was just not the time for me to want to buy a car, but like I'm so happy with the purchase. I'm so happy that things worked out the way that they did because like yeah, I feel when you have a decent car, you have a nice car, it does something to your confidence. It does something to your self esteem. I don't need nothing about my confidence. It just does something to your self esteem, and like you just feel good. The car is clean. I gotta so, but talking about keeping it clean though, it has been a struggle because my son is now playing football. So, um. I guess that's part of the highlight too, is like my son getting into like, new sports. So if you've been watching me, I talk about just, my son a little bit and like what he's into. And he's never been into football. What I mean, for real, never been into football, never wanted to play. He always used to be like, yo, dad, I don't like cause I play football. I played football for at least like 5 years of my childhood. I didn't play in high school because I ain't gonna hold you. Football practice, and this not to sound soft or like, what I mean, passive or not, but football practice is hard. And my thought was, I'm not going to the NFL. So like I'm not about to be busting my ass in nobody's practice. I mean, just for me, just to be a high school player. Now, looking back, that was a very jaded and cynical way to look at things. I don't look at things now that way. Like now I can appreciate like when, kids have like school pride and like just what that means. Like because if I could go back, I probably would have played more high school sports. I would have probably tried out to play basketball. Because I ain't gonna hold you, there is like one or two guys that played on my school because I went to a school that was like really good at basketball. And um I think I always felt discouraged about trying to play basketball because there was definitely guys that was way better than me. Like I knew they were way better than me that did not get playing time. And people would always talk about the when you go to a school, when you live in a city and you go to a school that's good at basketball, I mean, you know who's nice and who's not, right? And then, but a lot of times people talk about that favoritism, and like that was something that discouraged me. Everybody talked about this particular the head coach at the time, his favoritism and how he picks his teams, but there was one or two guys that was on my high school teams that I felt like I was better than. Like, and I mean, and I was like, I could probably if I would have just gave that effort like this, because this person, one of the guys that I'm thinking of, he just was like all effort. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't really skilled player, but like I feel like I could have made it over this guy. Maybe I would have been shut down, but who knows? But like I'm glad that my son is playing football. But like circling back though, keeping my car clean has been a struggle because this now that my son is playing football. and he decided he was into it. Like I haven't been this close to a football field since I was a child. Now, I it never deterred my love for football. I love football is my favorite sport to watch. It's not my favorite sport to play, but it's definitely my favorite sport to watch and to keep up with. I play fantasy football, all that like type stuff. You know what I mean? I play you know what I mean? Like I'm into football. I know the ins and outs of football. I study the game, you know what I'm saying? But but yeah, so like this is the first time I'm like actually close to a football field since I played when I was a child. So, and there's a couple of things that just kind of blow my mind about now. And one of the things is, and it's a very simple thing, it's the fact that like, in the 90s, I'm telling y'all, hydration did not matter. Like we did not put a premium on hydration when I was a kid, right? So what I notice now is that like every kid brings their water bottles, like I mean, like a Stanley or something like that. Like maybe not a Stanley with a handle or nothing like that, but like everybody's bringing their own like water jugs and you know, water bottles, and like the coaches encourage that, and like that's the norm, right? When I was a child playing football, like we didn't know when we were getting water, and like the water was at the mercy of the coach. Like the coaches had to fill up them water, it wasn't even cold water all the time. Sometimes it was, not all the time, but they would, them little, plastic like squirt bottles, big ones, and like, every now and then, I don't even know when I don't know if we got water on a set time or if it was just like random because it felt random as hell. But like you would just get a little squirt. I mean, yeah, you couldn't hold the bottle or nothing. Like they would divvy it out, you know what I'm saying? And like they made us like kind of suffer, you know what I'm saying? I was in martial arts, I was in karate too, and like I don't remember us hydrating a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like we had to learn to withstand. So like because I even thinking deeper, like bottled water was not even like a thing back in the day, right? So like we was not drinking water to the same degree that we drink it now, and we didn't look at it as important as we do now, right? Like now it's like it's essential. It's like, yo, you need to hydrate, you need to hydrate, you need to hydrate. When I was a child playing football, it was not a factor. It was not as important, you know what I'm saying? So that's the one thing that really kind of stands out to me. And then even like just the way the schedules work and practice schedules, like we practice every day. They practice every day. Well, they practice every day for a couple weeks, and then now we're on to like it's a certain amount of days a week now, but then we got like games and stuff like that. And the scrimmages are bigger than ever. Like they have these like I was just at this big scrimmage last week, and it was like 10 teams at this scrimmage. Like, and like that was never something that we used to do before back in the day, like in my day. So like the equipment is better, hydration is better, and even it seems like the teams and the way they organize stuff, it just seems better, which that's a good thing. But yeah, back in my day, right? Back in my day, it was not looks like now. Yeah, I mean, it was totally different, right? But I'm glad that my son's playing football. Happy that I got a new car, but like in terms of summer, that would be what really stood out to me. You know what I'm saying? What about you though? What about you? Let me know in the comment section what was the highlight of your summer, right? So this week we're gonna try to keep it somewhat quick. We got a couple topics. We got some things that we want to kind of touch on real quick, but um let's see. I have an outline that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit. Nah, bro. Where's this at? Oh, here we go. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Let's see. All right, so we do got a little bit of an outline. In terms of headlines, and this is something that we want to, as the story develops, we want to dive into it a little bit more. But did y'all see? I talked about DaniLeigh's brother last week, right? And right when I heard last week when I first heard about that lawsuit, right? So DaniLeigh's brother, DaniLeigh, who that's the baby's baby mom, right? her brother, remember her brother got beat up at the bowling alley by the baby. So the brother is suing the baby for $4 million, right, for that incident. But like as that was out, and I was thinking like, oh, okay, I seen this headline and I seen the video. Well, I don't have the video to share, but apparently DaniLeigh got into a hit and run. Like she was involved in a hit and run that included or involved someone on a moped, and she harmed somebody. Like, and it appears that she was the driver, right? And she harmed somebody. She hit somebody on a moped, and like she kept it booking. And the way that the witness described it was that she was dragging this person, like the moped was dragging underneath her vehicle for a couple blocks. So what happens then is like there's video footage of the traffic stop, right? And she's getting pulled over, and she's talking, and she's like, no, this can't be. Apparently she was under the influence as well. Like that's allegedly she was under the influence. And um wh- one of the things that they kept, they were just kind of doing basic questioning, but the big thing with her was the fact that she was not trying to take accountability for it. Like she was talking as if like she was untouchable and like nothing can happen to her. She said, "You can't arrest me. I'm an R&B singer. You can't arrest me. I'm an R&B singer." Like, no, I would never hit somebody. Like, what like, and the cops were like really serious with her and really frank, like, ma'am, like we're gonna have to, yeah, we're gonna have to take you into custody and figure this out. But like maybe she did not real like I don't know how you can. I don't know if it was a situation where she really did not realize, maybe because she was intoxicated, or if she really thought that there was a chance that she could get away with it, and then like, maybe she just feels like she's above people, you know what I mean, because she has a certain level of celebrity. And maybe she felt like, yeah, like, no, normally like nobody does this. Like nobody holds artists and celebrities accountable. Like you can't make me the example. Like I'm an R&B singer. I'm a female R&B singer. Like how could I be under arrest? So I seen this viral video, and then I heard it. It was one morning on the Breakfast Club. I just heard it was like a headline. I think it was like really early this week, and I only heard that one headline about it. Like I haven't seen anybody really talking. One, DaniLeigh is not. It's funny for her to say she's an R&B singer when like she's not very identifiable. Like you would have to be within the culture and like kind of in tune to even know her as an artist. Like she's not like a very well-known artist. She's still pretty underground. So like for her to use that in her explanation and like almost like her justification, and almost like her being like ignorant to the fact that like, yo, this is somebody's life. Like you harm somebody, for her to think that like shit don't apply to her, the rules don't apply, the laws don't apply. It was kind of mind blowing and baffling to me. But we'll see where that goes, and we'll touch on that again as we as that story develops. All right. Other than that, all right. Did y'all see Drake has been dropping a lot of little things lately, not even little things, big things actually. And he's been leaking these like 100 gig drops. And there's some snippets going around. Academics is talking heavy, and it seems as if like Drake might be ready for round two with Kendrick. And then like, so they got people talking, the Drake hive, I would say, because I'm a Drake fan, but I'm not part of the hive, right? So the way the hive is talking, they're like, oh, Kendrick's gonna be shook. Like, watch them not wanna rap for round two. Watch, they're gonna make it like there's a lot of talk like bigging up Drake, and like kind of speaking to the psychology of this whole thing, and like really digging into like, oh, like Kendrick don't he ain't ready for this kind of smoke. He ain't ready for this kind of warfare with Drake. Like, oh, it's gonna get ugly. And I'm not about to speak that heavy in favor of Drake. I'm not about to speak that heavy, but like I cannot wait till we hear some new Drake music. And I'm just looking forward to that. I don't know what we're gonna get. The one verse that I did hear, it sounds good. Like, cause Drake is a great artist. Like, Drake is a I think Drake is a really good rapper. I think he makes really good music, and I don't want Kendrick wins the war if Drake like would retire. But like if Drake can show and prove that he can still, be who he is, and it's kind of unfazing him and his life and his career, then I would say, and if he elevates in any way, it's like it'd be like the Jay-Z Nas, where like, all right, you might have lost the battle, but you maybe you're winning the war. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to. Um, Other than that, so there's been a lot of talk about a couple interviews that went down. So one of the interviews is and they both involve this woman named Dr. Carmen Bryant. Now, when you look at her, I don't she might have a doctorate, but she's not the kind of doctor that I thought she was. And I'm kind of it's kind of annoying now that like seeing that. Okay, so what is she a doctor in though? Hold on. Okay, no, she's Dr. Carmen Bryant is a licensed mental health counselor and private practitioner in Tacoma, Washington. So she is a therapist. Like, she is a licensed clinician. But in the description of the Nick Cannon interview, it just says she's a life coach, right? And I'm just thinking like, that don't seem too good. So all right, so let's because I was gonna change my whole perception and view of everything. But I didn't watch the Cam Newton interview, but I've been seeing articles that talk about it, right? And like one of the talking points was it talked about how make men in general, like there's a growing number of men that have fear of marriage, but not a fear of fatherhood, right? And because Cam Newton was talking about how like he wants more children, but like he's not really interested in having a wife, right? So in a blog, right, it did discuss why modern men are more content with fatherhood than they are about marriage, right? So in terms of why they are like their fears and stuff like that, it says one thing, it talks about how like with marriage there's this fear of failure, right? And they're fearing the high divorce rates, right? So that's why like men aren't necessarily like, gravitating towards marriage anymore, because um they feel like most marriages fail, the statistics are not in their favor, they feel that like women file for divorce a lot quicker and a lot more frequently. So it's like, it's not that, it's not for them. I think a lot of people are fearful of marrying the wrong person, right? I think that's always a natural fear, but I think particularly for men, because there's a lot of cost at that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the one, like, so like the way pregnancy is a great cost to women, like if they pick the wrong person. For men, it's the great cost comes with marriage, and if they marry the wrong person, because we've seen the stories, we know what happens. A lot of times men, they lose access to their kids in certain instances, especially if men don't really fight for their kids, they lose access to their kids. Like, if they just kind of let the system do what it does, they lose access to their children, they lose income, they might lose their home, they might you know what I mean, they might lose the roof over their head. And so I think a lot of men are just like, nah, bro, like that don't really sit well with me. So like I'm not I would have to pick, like, they feel like, I think a lot of men feel like they would have to be 100% sure and be 100% correct in their decision for them to feel comfortable. And we know that nothing is 100%. Nothing when it comes to love and relationships, nothing is 100%, right? So there's always going to be some give or take. Maybe 80-20 is what we should live by. Like, maybe if you're 80% sure and that woman represents 80% of what you want, maybe that's what you should go with. But other than that, I know. Now, in terms of fatherhood, right? Fatherhood is for men, it's a lot more straightforward. It's like, okay, I have a kid to this person, and to whatever extent I have to, like, even if me and like, obviously you want to like, if you're not going to be with the person, you want to co-parent well. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I have X amount of years to get to this like finish line and get my kid raised up to a certain extent. So it's pretty much straightforward. The blog also talked about how, like, a lot of times for men, having a child contributes to their personal growth, right? And I can attest to this, to like, when you're a man, you have a kid, it does, when you're kind of living out there and kind of living vicariously and just, doing you, right? When you're doing you as an adult man, um, it's fun and everything like that, but like, having a child gives you a lot more focus, and then a lot of times people run up the bag, you know what I'm saying? And they, when you're living for somebody else, what I mean, you're a little bit more responsible with your money. You know what I mean, you seek different opportunities to make money. Like, sometimes, like, if you just feeding yourself and clothing yourself, it's like, maybe you're content with a certain level of income. But like, when you have a kid, it does help you, like, turn it up, you know what I'm saying? And then men also talk about, like, even the emotional rewards of being a father are much more immediate than sometimes the emotional rewards of being married, right? So, like, for sure, like, your kid loves you, and it's pretty clear, and you can make it very evident and very clear that you love your child. As you see them go through different milestones and to go through different accomplishments, and like, learning the things that you're teaching them, like, that's immediate. Like, you immediately get rewarded and happy from that. But then sometimes, hopefully, in a good marriage, it should be, you should be rewarded and feel those good things. But like, obviously, like, you're more likely to have problems in a relationship than you are to have problems with your parenting and the relationship with your child. Like, you're more like, it's just more likely. Not saying that you can't have problems in parenting, but you're more bound to have, some barriers or some things that kind of hit the wrong way when you are talking about, like, when you're dealing with a relationship, right? So that was that. And then Nick Cannon also had a conversation with this woman, Dr. Bryant. And what I would say is, if I'm to react to Nick Cannon and like some of the things that they were talking about, I just feel like she was spitting some stuff. Like, it was like she was saying some good things, but it felt like Nick was like deflecting a lot of the good advice that she was talking about. So one of the things they talked about is like how, and this is something that, is talked about biblically, and I know a lot of people don't like when people cherry pick uh uh time when you're not religious, and people cherry pick like things, and they're talking about the Bible, whatever. But like, obviously, in our society, in American society, that's, even though, we have, it's supposed to be a separation of church and state and things like that, and we have religious freedoms and things like that. A lot of how we construct our lives is, in theory, and idyllically, right? Ideally, it is based in like Christianity, right? So one of the things, though, they talk about is like, yeah, like, I see a lot of times people having these conversations, like, they'll put like the different types of women, right, or different types of men in your life, and like, rank their importance, right? So like, I seen one where it was like, all right, you got your daughter, you got your mom, you got your wife, and you got your baby mama. Like, what's the order in their importance, right? And it's funny because the older that I've become, and the wiser that I've become, I realized that, like, you are supposed to, like, especially a wife, like, you are supposed to put your wife first. If you're a woman, you are supposed to put your husband first. And there's still a lot of people that have this feeling like, no, you have to put your kids first. You have to put your kids first. So Nick Cannon was talking from his place where, like, no, I mean, he has mad kids, right? He don't have no deep relationships with any of these women, right? So like, So one of his big things was like, no, I have to put my kids first, like, and that's how you should live, and like because my parents put me first, right? But the Dr. Bryant was just talking about like, no, like actually in a relationship though, if you want a high functioning relationship, you have to put the wife first or your husband first because one, it's not healthy. It's not healthy even for your kid to put them first. Like, and that's why we are in today's society, we do have entitlement is at an all-time high when it comes to children. Um, and we have you know children that don't really have the same level of respects that like other generations might have had, and we always talk about like, oh, it's because they feared people. No, it was just a different way in which we raised are in which people raise their kids, but like you didn't put your kids on a pedestal, right? You don't put your kids on a pedestal. Like they should be cared for sure, and you don't do you in the expense of your kids, but like when you are in a marriage, right, you should be prioritizing the love of your life, the person that you're going to be with, because one, your kids grow up and they leave the house, right? Your wife or your husband is going to be the person there to fully support you. I mean, your kids can't really support you. They can root you on and give you some applause when you do something nice, whatever, but like your children cannot support you in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing all the work for them, right? And I think Nick Cannon was deflecting a lot, and it felt like he was definitely speaking from a place of privilege, right? So like he is an extremely successful man, and he's gonna use his own experiences and say like, well, like you see how I got to where I got to because my parents put me first, and like that's not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily the case. And like I feel like they went on to some tangents, or like at least Nick was going on some tangents talking about how like she was trying to use like an example of athletes and like how they're raised and like how the entitlement sometimes like crashes down on them. He's like, yeah, but like, yeah, but these people are so rare, and like that's why like they got to be where they are because they were the golden child. They were put on the pedestal, and she's like, yeah, that's true if you just want to raise somebody like you who's not who doesn't know how to have a healthy relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like in the aspect of having a healthy, fulfilling, and long lasting commitment with somebody, you have to put that person before even your kids, even though that might sound crazy. So if you are having even and that would even be in the case if you are gonna marry someone else, like not the mother or father of your kids, you don't put your new husband or new wife in front, like you don't put them first because you're saying fuck your kids, right? And you don't put them first at the expense of your kids. Like you don't neglect your kids. There are moments where your kids do come first, right? Like certain things that they need to accomplish and certain obligations that they have. Like yes, you have to prioritize. Like your kids are still a priority, they just aren't the top priority, right? They aren't the top priority. And so I felt like he was deflecting a lot there. But one of the things that just kind of stood out though was she talked about like how like the one of the things she was talking about like is to really to make something work long lasting is like you kind of gotta stick in it. You know what I mean? Like no relationship is without challenge. Um no, like they said, she said too. She said if you're trying to avoid people that are quote unquote toxic, if someone does not have some level of toxicity, then they're not human. They're not human. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just natural to have things that you need to work on, and you should be kind of investing that time to work on those things. So it was a good conversation. There are some other talking points that we can probably dig up and dig into, but like I said, I did hear a lot of deflection from Nick, and it like again it felt like it was coming from a place of privilege. However, I am side eyeing the lady because there was something that she said. She said that she turned like, so it makes me think like, all right, you giving this man some relationship advice, but like she's not married. She's not a married woman. She talked about how she turned down two engagements, and then she called off two weddings, right? So this is like four relationships where she had these serious relationships with people, and like they got to the point of maybe being married, and she turned them down. So then it's like, so it sounds like either she has commitment issues or maybe she's the red flag. Maybe she's a red flag. And obviously, if you're a therapist, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be perfect. Like, and a lot of people are not perfect as therapists. Like, they're human as well. However, I do take issue with people getting paid to give a certain level of guidance, and like their life is like the total, like even at the end goal, like if the end goal is like a married person, like if the you cannot talk about the greatness, you cannot be paid to talk about the greatness of a fulfilling relationship and marriage if you yourself are not married. Like, it just don't, to me it don't really work like that. It just it is like hypocritical, it is, contradictory, and it just don't, it's incongruent, don't really make sense. But yeah, tune in. Yeah, yeah, tune into that interview with Nick Cannon. It's on his show called Council Culture. Council Culture. So like they talk, It's like, it's not always with therapists, but it's like therapeutic talk, um, where people are being honest and not having to worry about being canceled, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to learn and improve, right? What do you think though? What did you think? Cam Newton, Nick Cannon, a lot of platforms are talking about the two different aspects, and they're kind of coming at it from different angles. I just kind of am reacting to a little bit that I saw, and what I think there. But last topic, last thing we're gonna talk about, and it's a TV show. Wow. This is the only new TV show that I'm watching currently. It's a show called Average Joe. It's on Netflix, and it stars my man Dion Cole. So Dion Cole, let me just say, he is my favorite stand-up. Like, right currently, he is my favorite stand-up comic, and he's probably been my favorite stand-up comic for last couple years, low key, right? So yeah, I mean, more of a favorite than even Dave Chappelle, even though I seen Dave Chappelle live last year, and it was great. Um Kevin Hart, yeah, I mean, even like Dion Cole is my favorite right now. Like, and I think like just like this role, like him doing this, I'm happy to see him doing stuff outside of just comedy, just this regular comedy. It does feel, I feel like he's a half decent actor, and I want him to keep elevating and keep going to like the sky is the limit. You know what I'm saying? But like Deion Cole is an amazing stand-up comic, and he's in this show, right? So the show, the premise is this. It says, let me see here. It says Joe, a blue-collar plumber, learns his recently deceased father lived a secret life and stole millions of dollars from dangerous people. Now, those people think Joe has the money. Joe must race against time to find the truth and the money. And um I'm in the middle of it, so I'm not at the end, whatever, but like just the scenarios, although the scenarios are outrageous, it still feels very authentic, right? Like a lot of times we get into these conversations about like what we would do in certain situations, like if it was a life or death situation, our lives are on the line, our safety is on the line, we're in danger. A lot of times we like to assert and give our opinions as to what we would do, how would we react, right? We like to do that type of stuff. But this show feels so authentic in the way that these characters are reacting, because if you had, just hypothetically, right, if you had to like harm somebody and get rid of their body, right, would you actually know what to do in the moment? Like the adrenaline is pumping, right? Like, would you know what to do? And I think, even if you watch a lot of murder mysteries and true crime and stuff like that, like I think you might have like a basis of like how to do it and what to do, because you've seen like what was successful, what was not. But like when you're in a state of fear and a state of panic, I don't think it's gonna hit the same. I don't think you're gonna move in the same way as if like you know, as opposed to like if you were like calm and collected and gathered by these things, whatever. Like there's just like if you had to get rid of somebody, like would you remember to get rid of their cell phone, right? I mean, and like you know, stuff like that. Would you like how would you dispose of the parts, right? How would you dispose of the body so that like there's no evidence connecting you back? And I just feel like this show is a perfect example of Murphy's Law, right? Murphy's Law is what anything that could possibly wrong will go wrong. And like that's what this show is. Like there's so many instances where these people are making mistakes and and when you think that it can't get any worse, it does. Like it, and when you think like, oh, this is not going to happen, or you know they're going to get away with this, they don't, right? So there's a lot of that type of stuff going on, and like I said, it's a very dope show. I'm in the middle of it. Maybe when I finish it, I'll give a deeper little recap into it. But it's funny. It's there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of good acting in it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Deion Cole, but also like just Netflix shows, man. Like I need more new shows. Me and Levi might think about doing another recap at some point, but we gotta yeah we need I need more content. I need more things to dive into. I haven't had the most time to dive into content, but and watch stuff, but I'm interested in seeing where stuff is going on. But what do you think? What do you think? What's going on in your world, right? If you're still watching, you know what I'm saying? I need you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you're interested in what we're talking about, you know, I want you to leave a comment, right? And share the content with somebody else that might be into anything that we're talking about. Sports is on the horizon, right? I mean, football is on the horizon, right? We talked about Little League football, but like NFL is about to start. There's a lot of moves, a lot of moving and shaking parts. I did my fantasy draft the other week, and I did draft Brandon Ayuk because I said to myself, I'm not going to let his contract situation deter me. I'm not going to let his contract situation like sway me, because I've done that before where like a guy is in a weird position with his contract and I use that as my reason. Now sometimes it's good that you're cautious, but I was like, no, fuck that. I'm drafting this guy, right? And he's gonna be good. Like I'm drafting him and he's gonna do well. Like he's gonna figure it out. And you know, I think he didn't show up to practice recently. Preseason is pretty much over. Preseason is over. They're making their final. A lot of teams are making their final cuts. We have Packers. We had a season-ending injury with AJ Dillon. So Marshawn Lloyd, our backup running back, is about to get a lot more shine behind Josh Jacobs. It's crazy that we got Josh Jacobs. Like I can't even like that's crazy. We lost Aaron Jones, but we got Josh Jacobs. We got Xavier McKinney. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be a Packer fan. I got to figure out what time the Eagles game is when they play the Eagles, because I got a homeboy that wants to watch the game with me, and I'm with all the smoke. But again, man, if you still around, I need you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share the content, leave a comment. And what do you think about this week's episode? What you think about it? All right. This is episode 161 of the 280 Plus podcast, y'all. I'm out. Peace.